Good evening, everyone. This is Michael Tharp, EDU. It starts with you. It's Tuesday, July 16th. We have a lot to go over today. We are going to be covering the markets, but we also want to bring you guys brand new evidence and information when it comes to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump last Saturday. Um, M.I.M.S, as we just start out tonight, again, I want to reemphasize dialing down the rhetoric, condemning violence, realizing that we are all American citizens coming together. We might have our political differences, but I just don't think there's any need for this in politics right now. So that's the number one message we want to make sure we stress tonight. You guys might not agree with us on certain political issues, but we all want to make sure that we love and support each other in any way possible. But Ricardo, man, we had an awesome time in Phoenix last week. How you doing, brother? What's going down?
Yeah. I'm feeling good, brother. I think I brought the Phoenix weather back with me here in Maryland because it was 103 or 4 today. It was crazy, especially with the humidity, man. We wasn't experiencing that in Phoenix, but outside of that, brother, I can't complain. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It took me, I didn't get back home till 5 a.m. With some flight problems. So Monday was kind of like
Mm.
little hazy, little foggy, but
Yeah.
back and ready to run. If you guys don't know, we are very soon here going to be releasing 2 new revolutionary business opportunities. So make sure you guys are in the Runners Facebook group or the Runners School. You can find those links down below in the video. But let's start off with some good news, Mims. I know you know this. Gold price hits an all-time high as bets on rate cuts and a Trump win fuel the precious metal. Great news, man. Great news. Gold just keeps climbing. The precious metal climbed over $2,465 on Tuesday, eclipsing its record high reached in May. Hopes for a September rate cut from the Fed are sending gold higher. Also, bets on a Trump presidency are also helping the precious metals climb. There's not too much here. That pretty much summarizes it all. So M.I.M.S, I mean, obviously that's why we're here to make it make sense. How huge is this and how important it is for people to make sure they are getting real money as much as possible?
Yeah, I mean, gold is an indicator. That's one of the reasons why this is so significant. Not that, gold has the gold is the same gold as it was yesterday, last week, 1,000 years ago. But what happened is that the dollar is continuing to lose value, and so this is an indicator that the dollar is going to lose more value, especially in the future, because they talked about the Fed cutting rates. And remember, when the Federal Reserve cuts rates, they don't just press a button and make the rates whatever they want it to be. They actually have to get in the market and buy the bonds to reduce the rate. So they're creating value from nothing. This is an inflationary event. Yeah, the Federal Reserve is not like some wizard that they just can make rates whatever they want. They have to get in here and manipulate the market with this fake money. And gold is a hedge against financial crisis and inflation. It is also a signal to the global economy that there is something wrong with this debt fiat system, and there could be something significant ahead. And this is why we tell people to save their money in physical silver and gold. You don't invest in gold. Gold is a tier 1 asset. It has essentially zero risk associated to it. It's according to the Bank of International Settlements. So this is how you save your money, protect your purchasing power, and have it grow for you without exposing yourself to risk. So congratulations to those who are holding gold and silver. These assets are still massively undervalued. They're going much higher, much higher than where they are now. But it's a signal and an indicator, and it's something that you need to be saving in physically and having in your possession.
Yeah, so looking at the assets, the number one asset in the world, of course, is still gold. $16.6 trillion market cap. Price has come down just a little bit since it's hitting its all-time high. Then we have Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Google, Amazon, Saudi oil, and then Bitcoin moves above Facebook. So we have silver at 8 at 31.52 and Bitcoin at about 65 and a half. So again, guys, we talk about those three assets all the time because they are decentralized. You're able to store them. There's no third party counter risk, and I don't really like stocks. So real quick, Mims, let's let's do a little price comparison. I know we like to do this every week just to let people know where the best prices are. So we always do the Canadian silver maple leaf. I think that's the best bang for your buck when it comes to getting gold and silver. So right now, at cost metals is at $33.52. And like I said, that is with silver at 31.52. So just $2 over spot. That's the premium for the Canadian silver maple leaf. Let's see how much it is at JM Bullion. They're at $40.11 with a card. Even if you bought 500 of them and paid with an e-check wire, we still beat them. What is it? 33.52. If you guys are watching right now, put that in the chat. 33.52. We're beating them by about $5, $4, even if you buy 500. We can look at SD Bullion that says they have the lowest prices, period.
My detector test determined that was a lie.
Yep. Thank you, Maury, for that. With a card or PayPal, you're looking at $36.90. Even if you use a check and wire and you buy 500 ounces, we are still beating them by about $2. Goldandsilver.com, they're at $37.71. So, of course, we're beating them. And that percentage we're beating JM Bullion is 16%. 40.11 to 33.52. We can also look at gold. I usually compare this Canadian maple leaf half ounce. We are at $12.95. JM Bullion is at $15.44 with a card, $14.82 with an E or check wire. That is a 12% savings. So even M.I.M.S, even if you're just buying a half ounce of gold, okay, that is going to pay for your at cost metals membership. So again, just break it down how revolutionary this is. We had a great call with Kelby today, and he just couldn't believe that we're able to get these prices.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is huge, folks. The savings is significant. And the reason that is because obviously we're getting it at cost. And that's a massive value, especially when you understand that this is an asset that you want to accumulate on a constant, continuous, and consistent basis. And so when you can get, gold and silver at cost, no markup, it allows you to save money and essentially acquire more metal. And that's the name of the game. You want to weigh your wealth. You don't want to count it. And that's what we're doing. We're weighing our wealth. When we get these bars, on a continuous basis, this is how you build wealth. And at cost metals, what they're doing is revolutionary. Whether you're getting it at cost or whether you're talking about the digital and physical vault that they have, it's next level. So, congratulations once again to everybody who's getting these assets, because there's a lot of people who just don't know this information and aren't getting these assets, and you're a part of a select few, and that's huge, and it's going to be life-changing for you and your family.
Yeah, boy.
All right, well said, well said. All right, guys, let's get into this. Ricardo hasn't even seen this yet, so it'll be great to get his reaction. I tried to stay away from conspiracy things. There was supposedly some guy on 4chan or Reddit who claimed to be the sniper, and he was told not to shoot. I have not heard that has been corroborated yet, but I watched this today from Redacted, which is one of our favorite news sources, and this is absolutely mind-blowing, guys, of what's going on here. This almost makes JFK's assassination look, like a walk in the park, with the amount of corruption and unknown of what's going on here. So breaking, this changes everything. New details in Trump assassination. This is hot off the presses today, and let's get into it.
Well, I think we can safely say the so-called shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, didn't act alone in trying to assassinate Donald Trump. The evidence at this point is overwhelming that he had help. was he aided in some way, or he at least it was a total cover-up for an actual shooter that might have been hundreds of yards away, separate from that location, which we've been seeing all over the mainstream media. We're going to get to all of that today, but first, just focusing on Thomas Crooks for a moment, the lone gunman that everyone wants you to believe acted alone. Here he is. Sources say that they notified authorities about the Trump shooter a full 26 minutes before he fired his first shot. 26 minutes, guys. I mean, what? 26 minutes? That's how long the would-be Trump assassin was spotted by cops twice in 26 minutes before he wounded President Trump and he killed a retired fire chief? One source took a photo, in fact, and sent it to authorities at 5:45 p.m. Shots were not fired until 6:11 p.m. A video compiled by Mike Bar TV, we showed it to you yesterday here on the show, shows how rally attendees were trying to alert law enforcement about the shooter for at least 120 seconds after they even saw him crawling on the rooftop. We showed you part of this video yesterday. Take a look just so you can have some context. So here is the...
So this guy is spotted acting suspicious, I think with a backpack and ladder. Somebody lets the police know 25 minutes before any shots are fired. They see him again, let him get it. They kept saying he disappeared or something. And, you know, I mean, this is just unbelievable. Somebody even took a picture of him and sent it to the police of like, this is the guy that's acting all weird and carrying this stuff around. 26 minutes and no action by the local police or the Secret Service is just mind-blowing.
The president speaking, and the audio was connected between these two videos side by side, so you can see that they had plenty of time to eliminate this threat, as he writes.
I mean, like, look at this. There's just like a crowd of people here looking at the guy, yelling, you know, he's got a gun, there's a man on the roof. No one could have a radio and say, hey, get Trump off stage. We have a man on the roof, you know. Even if it's a guy on the roof just looking, get Trump off stage. Once you eliminate the threat, you could bring him back out. But the fact that, you know, a handful of officers at least were aware of this and did nothing, to me is, I mean, this just has inside job written all over it.
Yeah, I feel that.
They were pointing out, there's a guy on the roof right there. Look, he's right there. We're going to let authorities know about this. He's climbing on the roof. The president is speaking. Another 20 seconds, another 40 seconds, 50 seconds, 2 minutes go by. They had the opportunity to get this guy.
Do you think that law enforcement gets a lot of weird stuff and they're just like, oh, another weirdo?
Well, of course they get weird stuff. But right, when you're standing right there, pointing.
Yeah.
It's not like it's,
but when you,
Janice got her cat on my yard again, you know?
Right.
And in that scenario, when you've got a president speaking, you better pay attention to all weird stuff, I would say. Like, I think every single thing that you hear, you should be inspecting because that's a major thing.
Yeah, they have to already have a way to filter out the crazies. I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to ask questions about what is normal in this situation. Please go ahead, Philip.
Well, like, just look at swatting. Look at how quickly they show up. You know, like in swatting, for people who don't know, it's like you basically call the police and tell them that somebody you don't like has a gun or you saw a gun. They'll show up with the freaking SWAT team. Like, and that's without any evidence whatsoever. They're just somebody called in. They'll send a SWAT team out. They have a presidential candidate speaking on stage. People are pointing at the gunman. And they're like, we'll get there. It's just weird.
Oh, I see that guy as well.
It's bonkers.
I see that guy. Yeah, we're not going to do anything about it. We see the guy walking in with a gun. 26 minutes passes. 2 different individuals. Police receive a photo from an individual. Right. Here he is with a gun. He doesn't look like he's part of your team. Now he's on the roof.
Or is he?
Right. Or is he?
Yeah,
That's
we
a great
know
point.
He's there.
Well, it gets even worse. So now reports confirm that the building that the shooter was on top of was loaded with counter sniper team police officers inside of the building. This was their tactical operations center. So in other words, there's where the suspected shooter was on that building. That building was the tactical operations center. So in other words, that's like landing on top of a beehive, right? You know, like you're literally there at the hive on the roof with a ladder. able to get on top of that roof. So Kimberly Cheadle, of course.
Do you hear something, sir? No, I do not.
What is that up there? Do you guys hear?
Absolutely, and neither do you, Johnson.
Tin roof?
I mean, it's like effectively the only thing he didn't do was go check into the local police station beforehand and let them know he was on his way over there to shoot at the president. Like that's the only like thing that didn't happen, but that they could have given prior notice.
Right.
Frank Speece, I think it's Frank Speece in our Rumble chat. Frank Speece says, also, why did they allow Trump to even go on stage? That's a great point. So 26 minutes, that means that's a full 20 minutes before the president even goes on stage, and you have something suspicious. Right. So you're allowing this to happen. A lot of questions for Kimberly Cheadle. I can't believe she, of course, the head of the Secret Service, why the hell she has not been fired? Why is she not resigned? And she was speaking in an interview yesterday, said, well, yeah, we're going to look into this. Full transparency. It should never have happened. They're definitely very upset. And she says that the building that Crooks was on top of wasn't part of the Secret Service responsibility. So again, that Pac-Man design we talked about, because apparently the local cops were using that building as their tactical operations center. So it's the local state police. It's the local police that were using that building. So therefore, that one section, that and all the way over to the water tower was not part of our that was not part of our purview at the Secret Service. So you're saying that was the operations center and he was on top of it.
This will be provable because the House Oversight Committee now is saying we want all pre-event surveys. We want all text messages. We want all aerial footage, all communication about how you are intending to secure this location, which you did not.
Right.
So this.
I'm going to make a prediction here, M.I.M.S.
Yeah.
A lot of that information is going to get deleted or something's going to happen. I don't know if you remember this, but when the House asked for all of the FBI and, other text messages and communication from the January supposed 6th, what do they call it, an insurrection? They all got deleted. Oops. We did a transfer and we lost all the information. Oh, darn. I can't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't trust. I wouldn't trust the FBI. It is the same FBI who's had Hunter's laptop for the longest and knew everything that was on that laptop. And we see where that is ended. So, wow. I mean, it's you can't make this stuff up, man. It's crazy.
Like literally the building he was on was like the sniper headquarters for the local police. Like, are you kidding me?
Right. Yeah, that's wild.
And again, I hadn't even thought about that is if you have a report of a guy acting suspicious around this building, why would you even let Trump go on until you knew that, he was captured or the danger was gone? I mean,
I don't know why they would have
failure on every level.
Yeah, I don't know why they would have such normalcy or complacency, given the environment and who he is, and it was interesting to see the Secret Service agents that he had around him, totally different than what we're seeing tonight from him as well at the RNC. But yeah, there was definitely something fishy going on there. Just everything is not adding up. It's not becoming of what we would expect of security for the ex-president of the United States.
Yes, Red Star, we are really live right now. If you guys are watching, go ahead and like this, share it out, especially when we start talking about politics. Facebook and YouTube like to censor and shadow ban these videos. So we want to make sure everyone gets, the latest news of what is going on. And again, here's the biggest problem. The lady who is head of the Secret Service was at Pepsi before. So she was a Secret Service agent before. Then she was at Pepsi. So she went from Pepsi and Fritos to head of the Secret Service. And again, my big problem with it is she is a Marxist and pushes DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And she's on 60 Minutes, I think, saying she wants to have 30% more women in the Secret Service. And as you can see, when they rush the stage to cover Trump, there's some lady up there that's like 5'3", Trump's 6'3". So it's like nothing against women, but you need men that are big, strong, and tall to guard a president that is 6'3". Otherwise, it's useless. She's literally giving a perfect window for somebody to shoot Trump. So we need to pick the best people for the jobs, not just say, well, we need more diversity, so just hire whoever we can. So as long as they, are a woman, which, the left can't even decide what that is, we just need more women in the Secret Service. I mean, that whole thought process is one of the major issues with, in my mind, the left-wing Marxist, Democrats these days. Is it's no longer about equality, it's about equity. And we just need to make things equal. Don't worry about the outcomes or the ramifications of it. We just need to make sure everything's equal.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on here.
This could very easily be a lie. Or we could, in fact, see government documents with that Pac-Man symbol. Like, yeah, we weren't looking there. We didn't think we had to.
That area was not in our purview. We were not in charge of it. Simply put.
And all those
Go ahead, David.
Tactical people were just staying inside. None of them came out. They did what were they doing in there? Just watching televisions, or right. you didn't see them walking in and out of there. They weren't around. Like, you'd think if it was a tactical center, they'd have it surrounded and protected. You'd think you'd see antennas and stuff for communication.
Yeah, and we don't even actually know if that's true at this point. I mean, that's what they're telling us. Again, I want to go with the premise, the sort of George Carlin approach. I don't believe anything the government tells me. Mm-hmm. If we start with the premise that everything the government tells me is a lie, that's probably a good place to start. Because I want them, they have to, at this point, our government has to prove to us that they're telling us the truth. And we're getting this information from the government, so we need them to prove to us that they're telling the truth. So Crooks went to the only building that wasn't guarded by Secret Service. Out of all of the buildings, all of the locations, he goes to the one location that apparently, how did he know this? That was the only one not guarded by Secret Service, a building he knew ahead of time was open and ready for use with a ladder. And we spoke to Dallas Alexander yesterday, former elite sniper with the special forces in Canada who would protect prime ministers and presidents of the United States. He called this out and said clearly that he was either aided in some capacity or had help. There's no way that he was a lone gunman operating alone. Watch.
The incompetence, once there were already shots fired, or once the guy was ready with the gun on the roof, I can buy that. Like, I don't think every person there was just like letting this kid shoot at Donald Trump. My point is, for him to get on that roof with a rifle that close, I think someone helped there. And I'm not pointing my finger at a particular person or agency. I'm just saying someone on the inside of this thing helped or assisted or turned a blind eye or whatever somewhere, because to me that is impossible.
Absolutely impossible. Former elite sniper. I think he still holds Canadian record for the longest shot. So anyway, here's that Pac-Man design. Let's put this up on the screen here. Here's the Pac-Man design once again, just to remind you why this is being called the Pac-Man security bubble here. So you mean to tell me that line of sight, that water tower, that building, that series of buildings is out of your purview? And it continues on that line of sight right to the bleachers, right to the stage where President Trump was speaking. Okay, so that is the Pac-Man symbol. Now, I want to show you this. I think that this is fascinating. So a viewer sent this in. This is from a viewer who was there behind the president. Now, I want you to take a look at the roof. Okay, that's the roof where apparently Thomas Crooks was shot and killed on top of that roof, and where that shot was fired. Clear line of sight. Just look how close that is. You mean to tell me that wasn't a concern? That wasn't something the Secret Service thought to watch and monitor? That's unbelievable. And when you see it at that at that angle, from that perspective,
well, I
want you to remember.
I mean, that's the thing is
and he's going to talk about this in a little bit. So maybe take a screenshot here. But this supposed slanted roof is going to be a big deal, because I believe the guy was on this backside where this is sloping up. My cursor isn't that big, but he was back here. He wasn't here. And then apparently the Cheadle, I think their name's Cheadle, the Secret Service head of the Secret Service, is now like blaming the sloped roof. Like, oh, we couldn't have anyone on that building because it has a sloped roof. As you can see, there's the grading on that is very low. Like, it's not a sloped roof. Like, you couldn't walk on it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's her latest excuse. So there's tons of funny memes online right now about the sloped roof that she's claiming was the issue and why they didn't have anyone up there, even though the other roof where we see the snipers is sloped as well.
Right.
There should be snipers up there. Like, that's a perfect spot to protect and survey the crowd.
Them.
You know, like,
Yes.
For the good guys.
Yes, exactly.
It's a sloped roof, though, right? I mean, that's...
Right. So I want you to remember the sloped roof comment that David just made, because look how the left side, deeper back, is where his body was found, sloping up. Okay. I want you to remember that in a minute here, because we're going to come back to that important point. And it just so happens to be the only building the Secret Service wasn't responsible for. Congressman James Comer says that's total bullshit. The Secret Service was responsible for all of it.
Congressman James Comer, chair of the House Oversight Committee, joins me now. Congressman, I just want you to clear this up for a moment. Was the Secret Service responsible for securing that rooftop?
Absolutely. The Secret Service is responsible for securing the entire perimeter. I think the Secret Service director would admit to that. So we've got a lot of questions that every American has that we hope to be able to ask the director on Monday, and then hopefully she'll give us some transparency, and by then she'll be able to answer all the questions as to what went wrong. But I don't think there's any question. Anyone who's in the security business, anyone who's been in the military, anyone who's been in law enforcement, they're all appalled that someone could climb that roof and be noticed and stay on that roof for so long without anyone doing anything about it, with the President of the United States speaking just 150 yards from them.
So
you know what also strikes me about this video is that the people who are pointing it out don't run away. And I have to think, because there's a man there with his little girl who can't be more than 8, that they're not afraid that he's going to hit them. They're just saying, hey, that guy's there, let's do something about it. Doesn't that strike you as odd? I mean, if I saw a guy on a roof with a gun, I'd be running in the opposite direction while pulling out my phone.
Well,
so
I don't think if you look at the video, you don't really see the gun, though. So it's possible they just were saying, hey, there's a guy on the roof. I didn't see a gun at that point either.
Okay, that's
so
a
I don't
good
know
point, too.
Well, no. However, you'll recall the BBC interview and the gentleman we showed a few days ago here on the show. He said we saw him climbing up the roof with a gun, and we notified police. We told them. So he saw a gun, confirmed that to the BBC. They had a gun. They saw a long rifle. They didn't know exactly what it was, who he was, but they alerted police. So there was awareness about a gun. Maybe not everyone saw the gun.
Right.
You know, to your point.
Maybe I'm outing myself as a coward, because if I see that, a strange dude on a roof with a gun and everyone's going like that, then I'm going to be running the other direction.
Yeah.
But I'll also pull out my phone.
Yeah, well, for sure. So now we're learning a lot more about this Trump shooter, and it's very mysterious. So there's more pieces we're going to get to here in a second, and wait till you see what I'm going to show you in just a few moments here. But Thomas Matthew Crooks, the Wall Street Journal, now doing a deeper dive on this mystery around the Trump shooter. So what we learned today from both the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal is that they have zero information. They've now tapped into his phone. They had zero information that he was going to kill the president. There's nothing on the guy's phone about this. Nothing. According to them. Nothing. Nothing on his phone. Nothing on his social media. No one saw or knew anything out of the ordinary with this guy. Both at home, his work, his friends, community. Nobody saw anything. Zilch. There's no manifesto. There's nothing. But yet he had bombs. And on the morning of the attack, he stopped at a gun store, bought ammunition, according to reports. This guy, Thomas Matthew Crooks, by the way, he also had no ID on his body. According to the New York Times, Crooks...
Oh, wait till you hear this, Mims. You're going to love this.
Had no criminal record. But according to the FBI, he also had no ID on his body when they identified him. When they identified him using DNA and biometric data. So let me just get that right. Hang out there for a second. He had no criminal record. He had no identification on his body, but somehow they were able to use DNA to quickly identify him in some sort of a DNA database. They have a DNA database? What? So when did that happen? As Sparta Justice pointed out, former CIA agent John Ramirez explaining what they had, how they have a DNA database that they were able to build thanks to vaccination programs, using vaccines as a way of collecting DNA.
And I know that, recently a former director of Central Intelligence revealed that CIA did have a program to collect DNA overseas by using a vaccination program as a cover. There was a real vaccination program, but through this vaccination program, they were able to retrieve DNA from this region of the world.
Yeah.
So that was what was discussed.
So as people in the chat point out, wait a minute, you can get that information within an hour? They're able to get that information and identify this individual within an hour using DNA?
Wow, sounds almost like the passport story. It's like,
right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So again, Mims, I mean, this guy's just a patsy now at this point. Like when I first heard this, I'm like, okay, seems easy enough. One guy, I don't know how he got on there, but okay, he's dead. Probably just one guy. But now, I mean, it looks like this is just a complete patsy setup. Like, how does this kid get explosives? Nobody knows he's getting explosives. There's nothing on his phone. And, it's just there. If you guys don't remember, during 9/11, when 9/11 happens, there's fire everywhere, buildings tumbling down. What do they find in the first hour? A perfect passport of 2 of the supposed terrorists of 9/11. Just how coincidental, Mims.
I don't know. This stuff is always strange. Whether it's some sleeper cell, MK Ultra, or just, even when you look at Dylan Roof, the Charleston shooting, a lot of these guys look alike. There's some issues, maybe some psychotropic drugs, or, you never know. And for them to have no conclusions at this point, and it's not as clear as day, it's just too convenient for them not to pinpoint it. There's something here, and it will come out at some point in time. But I mean, obviously, just the inconsistencies and just all the obvious things that just doesn't make sense. It forces you to question. But one thing you cannot deny is that the event happened, and unfortunately, some people lost their lives and were hit. And I think the country is better off today that Trump was not assassinated, because I think the world that we would be in, which is a totally different reality, a whole new zeitgeist, if President Trump had been assassinated, is something that nobody's prepared for.
Yeah, and I almost wanted to do that tonight, but I didn't want to get into fanning those flames. But yeah, I think we would have had it would have gotten ugly if that happened. So let's continue to pray that it will not. Pray for safety for all politicians on either side. I am happy that they finally gave. And again, that's the other issue is why didn't Trump has asked. He still does not have a full detail of Secret Service. He has asked for more multiple times in the past few months. RFK until today still didn't have any Secret Service, where his uncle and his dad have both been shot. I mean, it's literally like the Biden administration wants to allow this to happen. I don't know why else you would not give it to them. It's not like they don't try to save money. They're spending more money than they possibly can. So it's not. I can't believe it's a budget money issue. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
All right, just a couple more minutes here.
How you mean the passports from 9/11 that mysteriously fall in the that are not
just
burned?
They were just right there. It's like, oh, and remember, like, how long does it take to run a DNA test? It's not like they have to look at it under a microscope, don't they? It's not like they can't just like pull out the blood and be like, oh, here, this is what it looks like.
portable field DNA operatives, you know? I mean, yeah,
maybe it was
a
in
lot
the
of
building
questions
downstairs in the field office.
I mean, a lot of questions about how they were able to identify this individual so quickly. No ID on the guy, and they were able to get DNA testing and complete this and confirm with biometrics. And then yesterday, by the way, the FBI tweeted out a photo celebrating 100 years of biometrics. Like the FBI on the same day, like tweeting out about how their history of biometrics and collecting information about criminals. This is like a big celebration. They tweeted out like, what? Okay, thanks FBI. Anyway, yesterday, I reported here on the show privately that sources were telling me that Secret Service identified the bullets being fired, which came from about 488 yards away. Yards, not feet, yards. Okay, approximately 488 yards, not feet. Yesterday, another source brought me some great information showing that the Butler Gymnastics Club is precisely that same distance away, about 488 yards away. Here you can take a look at Google Maps and you can see this is the Butler Gymnastics Center, okay, much further than we've been talking about in this line of sight. Look at these windows, look at the roof line. This is all from a vantage point facing the stage where President Trump was located, okay? And we'll just sort of spin this around here so you can just get a sense of the depth here as we go towards the fairgrounds where President Trump was speaking. Now, same line of sight. So thanks for the tip, by the way. I'm sure you're watching right now. Thank you for this tip. So Butler Gymnastics, I want to take a look now at a map that we put together just so you get an understanding of the line of sight. The Trump stage, Thomas Crook's roof location, and Butler Gymnastics Club, line of sight. Straight line. And now let's just plug in the distance to confirm this, and which I did using latitude and longitude and using the distance calculator to identify the distance on this location, from this location. And very simple to do. Once you have the actual coordinates, plug in the coordinates between Butler Gymnastics Club. And we're not saying, by the way, that anything happened there. We don't know. But that is a perfect line of sight. And here's the distance then to the stage. You're able to place this right here and then calculate the distance from the Butler Gymnastics Club across that field right to the stage at the fairgrounds where President Trump was speaking. And as you can see, the distance there right above it is about 0.2885 of a mile, which is about almost exactly 500 yards, roughly, give or take a few yards, depending on where, if there was a shooter in that location, where those yards would have, could have been 490, 495, something like that. So more information. We contacted the Butler Gymnastics Club today, waiting for a response from them because right now they're closed for the summer on Saturdays. So that location's closed for the summer on Saturdays, meaning it was a vacant building, no one there to attract attention to on Saturday when President Trump was there giving a speech this past Saturday. So we're still waiting for a response from them. If anyone was in that building, we'd love to know about it. So just to paint a picture here, the Crook's rooftop was only 150 yards away where Thomas Crook's body was found. Crooks was killed many feet away from the edge of the building, by the way. He was not on the edge of the building, which means he was laying prone up the slope, which makes no sense. He was at the bottom part of that slope facing upward. And as the New York Times shows here in this photo, you can clearly see where his body in the upper left-hand part of your screen was.
So again, guys, so if you didn't catch that, there is ballistics from the missiles saying they were fired around 500 yards from where they hit. That gymnasium is almost exactly 500 yards. So was there another shooter in the gymnastics building on top of there? And that's why this top left here, this circle where Crooks was, he could have literally just been a patsy. And maybe, he might not even been the one that, hit Trump's ear, or the other people maybe did fire. But as you can see here, what they're trying to say here is this roof is slanting up. He would have have gotten more to the edge or the middle of it in order to even see over the slope. Now maybe they're gonna speculate that, well, maybe he got shot and then he slid down. That is also a possibility. But again, that's kind of the big breaking news today, is that it looks like there was probably at least 2 shooters, if not more.
Was located further down when he was shot, further down the slope, facing towards the stage, which makes no sense. So if he was laying prone, which he was, he would have been facing up a slope about another 10 to 15 feet before you even reach the peak of that building. Here's another photo vantage point where they're standing over his body, facing upwards on the slope. Go ahead, David.
I was just going to point out, if you go back to that other photo, Philip, the previous one, that it confused me too. It's the top.
Further distance away, not from that roof line. And we need to find out what they saw, and can we confirm that was there anyone on that water tower or not? So multiple now eyewitnesses saying that they saw shooters from another location, bullets fired from the water tower. Watch.
Hit the ground.
Okay, so this is another thing. So it's not even just the ballistics of the bullets. We now have multiple people saying they saw multiple shooters. If this is not just reek of the whole JFK thing, it's like they were just like, hey guys, you think we can get away with this again? Yeah, sure, why not? The media will tell them, they'll tell them whatever we want them to say.
And he kept standing. I was like, you got to get down, boy. You got to get down. They're going to shoot you. Because if they would have had like a machine gun, they could have taken us all out. So then we laid there for a while. We saw different places where the gunshots were at. And then they got President Trump down, Secret Service did, and they took him out of there and got him off of the stage. And he was bleeding. And so then my son and daughter-in-law was back behind us, back behind the fence. And we was worried about them. We couldn't call them. And so we started trying to get after them then when they finally let us up. And they had been right by the fence where the other shooter was. There was one I heard in the water tower. There was one by the fence.
And still, obviously, initial reports. But what we do...
One by the water tower.
Exactly. So that's just one eyewitness. Here's another eyewitness witnessing the water tower. Watch.
Sharpshooter shot to the left. He killed the gentleman in the water tower here. Now, when I called my husband at home, who's watching TV, he said, I thought Trump hurt his ear when he went to the ground. But he said, no, on TV they showed before Trump hit the ground, the ear was bleeding. So that sharpshooter went across. Trump turned his head. His ear must have been nipped, and it killed somebody in the stands over to the left.
Could you see anyone injured besides the blood on the former president?
All I saw was the gentleman from Beaver County who spoke earlier in the day, who was running for the State House Representative, Elmore. I know his name. He had a white shirt on, and I saw him come from that left stands where the people were mostly shot. I think there were several. They said 3 medevacs left here. Blood was down the right side of his... He wasn't shot, but you could see that he was next to somebody who must have been bleeding profusely, because he either helped them and ran, rubbed against them, or tried to get them help or something. It was covered. So I knew that he was near somebody. That was my first indication that somebody was actually shot, when I saw his blood on his shirt.
Aaron, when did you realize that, hey, this might not be fireworks, this might be something else?
When they got Trump down on the ground. We were just so concerned that he wasn't hit, because we couldn't. It happens so fast. It's really hard to process it. I guess if you have it on your camera to see the exact minute, you can tell. But when he got up, he did not look bad at all. What I've heard coming out here is now they feel that there was 2 shooters on both sides. So they got the one on the tower on this side, but the one on the right side they never got. So that's why they wanted us to leave immediately, because they thought there's still a shooter out there somewhere. So there could be in these woods around Butler. And I feel sad for our country. I feel sad for everybody, you don't like the guy, don't vote for him. Don't kill him. We love the guy. We're going to vote for him. What is up with his violence? It's just terrible. I just wish that people that...
So that was well said on her part.
Yeah. Water tower, water tower, water tower. That location. And to go at seeing eyewitnesses, seeing it, hearing it, and also then being told to move out of that area because they think there's another shooter in that location. So we need to get to the bottom of that. As far as the roof and the apex of the roof, there's conjecture. Was he on a knee when he fired shots? Was he further back from the peak? Again, that's an important piece of it. we can talk about all that. I think it's important to put that information out there, though, where he is on that roof line and how far back he is, and whether or not why the Secret Service was not covering that roof line at all, and why they had handed that over or said that that was part of local police tactical response team, a sniper response team.
In that image that the viewer sent you, though, it looks as though from that line of sight. Let me pull that back up, because it looked like from that line of sight. That building is not, he's not facing, like the peak is across the horizon so that you could be leaning over any part of it. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah. I mean, you could be, facing this way. Exactly.
Just leaning over the edge. Yeah. But it's hard to say.
But if he's in the back left, as we see in that New York Times photo, again, that's back to the left of this particular building. So,
you ever heard that, Ricardo? Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
Yeah.
From the JFK assassination, when it didn't make sense, is JFK going back into the left, according to where supposedly Lee Harvey Oswald was. And I don't put it past them that they would do something like that, to put the guy back and to the left, just to be funny. I mean, they do this kind of stuff all the time.
So a lot of things we don't have answers to yet. We're still digging into this. We're not going to let this go because we have eyewitnesses, and they're all, I think the official response on this is very telling. When they're all telling you that this is one guy, here's who did it, here's his DNA results, we know who he is, we're going through his phone right now, here's the information. Okay, great. What about all the eyewitnesses that say something else happened? What about the Secret Service individuals and sources who said these bullets were fired at over 400 yards away?
Well, also what gets my spidey sense up is as soon as the government and the media says these conspiracies are false, we're only 4 days out. That all conspiracies should be open questions at this point. Everything should be okay to ask and not decide which things are not okay to ask and which things are conspiracy. So as soon as I see that the #1 video on the Wall Street Journal's page today is all the conspiracies, debunking the conspiracies around the Trump shooting, we don't know anything. Everything is open game at this point. Then I'm like, okay, these are the questions they don't want us to ask, so let's ask them.
Yeah, once they start mocking you for asking questions, you're onto something here. Right? Go ahead, Philip.
Well, an investigation takes time. Anytime, I'm always super skeptical. Anytime within like an hour or two after an event, they know exactly what happened. Like the hell you do. You know what you know right now. You don't know anything that you haven't looked into yet. Like look into things and then get back to us. Like do an investigation.
So, I mean, it's very possible that we're asking some good questions and some not good questions, but all the questions should be out there right now.
Though there's no bad questions. There's never bad questions, right? Then I do it sometimes reluctantly. I hate when I say this sometimes. Let me ask a dumb question. There's no dumb questions.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about, snipers and security, like
that's
we're
how
all
you
learning
learn.
together.
You learn by asking questions.
And something that we were talking about in our redacted chat today, just the producers of this show, is I would like to see what it looks like to secure a site in a good way. Like, what does it look like when Obama goes to speak somewhere that's out in the open? Is there a Pac-Man configuration, or are all stones turned? What does that pre-site survey look like? How do they choose who goes with Obama? This is all pertinent information. Unfortunately, it's secret information, so they don't tell us. But we need to be able to juxtapose this between what's normal and right and proper and good and safe and what happened over the weekend.
Also, we should point out regarding that slope comment earlier, we were talking about the slope of this roof. The Secret Service director says that the rooftop itself was too steep for the Secret Service to be on. The rooftop where Thomas Crook's body was found. That's from the Secret Service director. That was too steep for the Secret Service to be on. Really? It's just as steep as the other building where the snipers were located. It makes no sense at all.
I thought the slope of the one where the Secret Service was, where the police were, was even more sloped. It looked
right,
like because it was a smaller building.
Yep.
I mean, that's likely like a 312 pitch. The building that the guy was shooting from. Like, to put it in perspective, my grandparents had a 512 pitch, which is a steeper roof, and I shingled their roof in sandals. and didn't
Okay.
fall off. Like a 312 roof, you could run across it without any fear of falling. You're not going to fall unless you're.
Is
like,
that rise
trying
over
to.
run what you're giving us there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then
a 312 is like 3 inches per foot. It's not a steep roof at all. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way that was too steep to put a sniper on. It was a dog could walk across it just fine.
Okay, a dog.
Well, let us know your thoughts on this. We appreciate you guys for subscribing.
I mean, yeah, there's just no way, guys. This, like I said in the beginning, is that this thing has more holes than Swiss cheese. And they made a great point there. When the government wants to come in, solve it in an hour, tell you something, and anyone who questions it or says anything against it is a conspiracy theorist. That's basically their MO.
Yeah, like 9/11 commission report, but a lot of the stuff the media wants to get ahead of it because it's about mind control. They want to control the narrative. They want to do the thinking for you. They don't want you to do too much thinking, And the thing is that what we're seeing, understand something. We have enemies that are foreign and domestic. We are at war. We are at World War III abroad, and we are at World War III at home. It's just a different type of war, and you're seeing it accelerate. And so they might try Trump again. In fact, the people who are worried about being exposed in jail for their pedophilia and their crimes against humanity and everything else and their wickedness, they have more to lose than ever after going after Trump now. So we might say them get desperate and try something again. Don't put them past them. We're not out of the woods yet. This is still a very serious situation that's taking place. It's good to see that he's got some better security on there. He is the nominee now. Hopefully he has some better security, but folks, make no mistake. We are at war, and it's not just overseas, it's here at home. And this is why we tell people to have the best defense that you can with precious metals for your money. Obviously, best defense as you can and protect your family with some lead. Okay. And knowing how to, provide and protect, given any scenario that can take place, because we're in this space in time and history where nothing's guaranteed and anything can happen.
No, 100%. And again, guys, I mean, I don't put this past whatever you want to call them, the deep state, CIA, FBI. Again, just remember everything they did to try to stop Trump, right? The whole Russia collusion was an absolute hoax. Hillary Clinton paid a reporter to give that information to the FBI to open up the investigation. Then the FBI and Obama's administration was spying on Trump and his campaign for basically the entire, in his entire first presidency. They had two ridiculous impeachments that I still don't even know what they were for. They stole the election in 2020. Now they have the 4 court cases. And then you have, this attempted assassination. Now, this is where it gets really crazy, Ricardo. This is from Health Ranger, has 178,000 followers, followed by Thomas Massey, who's a House member from Kentucky. There is now a very credible explanation emerging that says U.S. Secret Service agents, on orders from Kimberly Cheadle and Alejandro Mayorkas, placed a Secret Service team inside the building where the shooter was crawling on the roof, and that the actual shots targeting Trump may have been taken by the U.S. Secret Service from inside the building. This would be consistent with the audio forensics of the shooting recordings, since the distance would be nearly identical to the rooftop shooter. This also explains why counter sniper teams held their fire until after the shooter killed Trump. Their job was to eliminate the patsy. Note that the U.S. Secret Service had eyes on this young man for at least 30 minutes, watching him with an actual rangefinder, scoping the range of the shot, then with the backpack, then scaling the ladder and going onto the roof. They watched him and reported on his progress. They did nothing to stop him. They did everything but load his rifle and pull the trigger. We need an immediate criminal investigation into Kimberly Cheadle and a hard look at the U.S. Secret Service counter snipers deployed that day. This stinks to high heaven. Note that in the assassination of JFK, they also had a patsy. Well, the real shot was taken by a CIA-run sharpshooter. Cheadle's bizarre slope roof excuse doesn't pass the smell test, she's covering up something. And yeah, man, I mean, that I would not doubt that for 1 second. There's no question. Chuck Schumer said the same thing of if you speak out against the CIA and the FBI, they have 7 ways from Sunday to take you out. He literally said that on live air. I think it was on NBC. So we obviously know that the FBI and the CIA, the top people, do not like Donald Trump. They get a patsy, whether there was another shooter by the water tower, at the gymnasium, or maybe even in that building. There's just no way some 20-year-old kid who's, a loner, doesn't have any, real experience as we know of. Both of his parents were psychologists. Doesn't have it, I think he maybe shot some guns, but I mean, he's not like a trained sniper at all. I mean, this is just an absolute joke. Like, you think they could have at least came up with a more plausible story, but at this point, I guess they just figure, well, we control the media. People, if they don't agree with us, we'll delete them and take them off social media like they did with so much stuff during the pandemic and the rigged election. So yeah, Mims, I don't know, but we need to demand, evidence, proof, truth, and never let this go. Like we have with so many things with the pandemic, and they just memory hole it. It's like none of that happened. You know, you don't remember seeing any of that. We didn't say that. We didn't do this. We can't let them off the hook for this one.
Yeah, no, that's crazy, folks. So we had to document, obviously, because this is what we do when we go live. We share this information, give it to you from our perspective, and try to help you just kind of put into action some of the things that you need to be doing. But we're documenting the collapse of this financial system. We're documenting this reset that we're seeing taking place. And we're living in one of the most significant time periods ever in history, okay? This time period is more significant than anything you've read in religious texts or throughout history books. Okay, the time period that we're in will be talked about for decades, for centuries. And it's important that you understand that, because there are certain things that you're supposed to be doing right now. You're not supposed to be on the sideline and just watching what's taking place. You need to be doing certain things, getting ready mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. You need to get ready. This is an attack not on just President Trump, but on you, on the world.
Yeah.
As we are in World War III, and our enemies that are domestic and foreign are trying to change your life in a way that is not in your favor. It's important that you take charge, because nobody's coming to save you. You have everything you need and all the information right at your fingertips to put yourself in position to change your life and your lives for future generations to come. So make sure that you take action. Don't just be a bystander watching this stuff taking place. Take action and do what needs to be done to protect you and your family and prosper.
Nailed it.
No, 100%. I couldn't agree more, Ricardo. And before we leave, guys, I have to say this is, guys, we told you last week and the week before that, you better be buying crypto. Okay. I think we might get a little dip this week. That's when I'm putting in a lot of extra capital. I think the bottom hit July 4th. You can see here Bitcoin is up 14% this week. We can look at, of course, all these stupid memes. Near Protocol up 43%. Arweave up 42%. Ricardo called the XRP pump. That's up 34% this week. And you guys, we can go to our portfolio. All right. We told you these coins months ago. Look at them. This week, Arweave up 42%. Pendle up 36%. Aerodrome up 53%. Hash AI up 25%. So, you got to pack your bags, guys. Pack your bags in July. Okay. It might go down a little bit more in the next week or two, but I think once August gets here, we're going to start the slow climb up, and then we blast off. I am going to be doing a video this week on a strategy that I'm going to be using. So if you guys want to get access to that, I'm not putting it on my main YouTube. It's only going to be for those following the runners. So look down below in wherever you're watching this, Facebook or YouTube. There's a link to our free SKOOL community, also a link to the free runners Facebook group. So make sure you get into those, because we have lots of revolutionary products and businesses that we're bringing to you guys. And, anytime we buy or sell any crypto, we put it into that SKOOL. So if you guys can analyze the situation and see if you want to take advantage. That's all I had, M.I.M.S. Any last words?
No. Look, folks, like Mike said, get prepared, get ready. Make sure you're getting these assets. Make sure you're preparing. We're going to come live next week for the next Runners Live show. And it seems like every day as we get closer to the election and as we get closer to closing out to 2024, more and more events and things that are taking place and things are accelerating. So make sure you plug in and make sure you get prepared.